Hi, I'm Nina, and I'm the writer of Bride's Last Ride. This is by far my favorite script that I've ever written because it's very personal while also being something completely different than what I usually do. I wanted to encapsulate female friendships and the best of it, but also the worst of it, and how hard it can be for girls, especially teenagers, to disband from their friend groups, although that's a very big stereotype. Women are always fighting with their friends and they love drama. I kind of wanted to approach this script in a way as to write women how men write men. A lot of movies like Superbad were a very big inspiration because it feels like when men write male friendships, it comes very easily. Women sometimes can be very confused as to where to start, and I kind of wanted to make something that if you are a man, a woman, or, whatever else you are, I feel like it's more about the friendship and not about the gender, so that everyone could relate to an aspect of it in a way or another. In terms of narrative, I wanted it to be a comedy because I hadn't really written a comedy since I got here, and I love it and it's what I want to do. And I felt like there was a big stigma within the university and just film schools in general that when you write comedy, it's not as good or it's not taken as seriously as dramatic films or horrors, because comedy is goofy and funny and people don't take that seriously because it's not supposed to be taken seriously. And that's the beauty of the genre. I wanted the girls to have a very close relationship, but also a very detached from reality relationship. I wanted the girls to feel like if they get rid of this friendship, if they disband, it's gonna be the best thing that ever happened to them because they're gonna have so many opportunities to make new friends that are better than these friends, but also that's all that they know, and these friends are all that they know, and they're scared to leave them because what if there isn't anybody else for them out there? What if there aren't better friends? What if these are the friends that you're gonna end up with forever? That's a very big, scary idea, especially in people that are about to graduate high school or have had the same friend group forever. And I kind of wanted people to question their friend groups, not in a passive-aggressive way or in a mean way. I just wanted people to realize, like, ooh, am I being like this towards someone, or is someone being like this toward me? I wanted everything to be very fast-paced and dry, and they're used to each other. They know each other. They know these girls, and they know what gets to them. They know which knobs to turn. I thought that could be a very interesting dynamic. I wanted one of them to be very shy and submissive in a way. And I wanted there to be a dominant one, wild card, and a follower, and it all came perfectly with the cast. My biggest inspirations were for Eleanor Seinfeld, Mean Girls, Superbad, Booksmart, Pen 15 mostly. I wanted the narrative to feel very familiar and fast-paced.
Hello, my name is Aaliyah Fivey and I am the director of Bride's Last Ride. For the film's mise en scène, we really wanted to make sure that the charity shop looked as much as a charity shop as possible. So our first idea was to actually film in an actual charity shop. However, this sadly did not work out because as much as we got in contact with a lot of people and we location scouted as much as possible, a lot of places were just simply not allowed to have people film in their space if it was not for the charity itself, or they just were not able to accommodate the amount of crew and actors and equipment we would have to bring. Instead, we decided to film at Merchiston campus. However, this also fell through due to miscommunication with the security team. So we decided very last minute to film in my living room. Because it is a living room, obviously it did not look like a charity shop. So we decided to just set dress as much as possible. So we took pieces of furniture out. However, we also took pieces of furniture inside. We found a lamp in my hallway that looked very random, so we put it in there. We used shelves, we used tables, we had a cat tree in the background. Every single space we just wanted to fill up so it looked full and busy for the small space that it was. So it did actually look like a small shop you would find on a corner in Edinburgh somewhere. And I think we successfully did that, filling the racks with clothes of the crew and vinyls, figurines, stuffed animals, posters, anything we could find in our own flats we brought with us to just fill as much negative space as possible. And I think because of this we did a really good job of set dressing the set, and I think that it really worked out in our favor. We also were able to use a mirror that I had in my hallway. At first we were a bit weird about maybe using a mirror just because you might be able to see the camera or the boom pole in the background, or you would be able to see crew in the background, as yes, the space was big for what it was, but it was not big enough for everyone to be in the room. So a lot of us actually stayed in like hallways while we were filming. The mirror ended up being one of my favorite parts, as we were able to actually show characters who were not actually on the screen or in frame. They were stood to the side and you could see them just looking at what was happening in the scene where Midge, Clara and Eleanor are just talking to each other when they first get into the shop, and they're like looking around talking about Ibiza. You can actually see Amelia in the background looking at them talking, which is including her into the scene and makes it feel more like everyone is involved. I was scared that Amelia would be more of a background character, as she does not have that many lines in that scene. However, her just looking and standing there is including her in the actual scene. I also really liked how we ended up going around the background character of Dex when Clara is yelling at Midge, being like, you were the one who gave the shirt, and oh, it must be Eleanor. You can see Dex in the background physically hiding behind clothes because he's petrified of these women. With the set itself and with the props that the actors were given, they were able to give a performance that very much told the story that we wanted to tell, that Nina wrote, and I'm really happy with the end result of that. With the last scene that we have in the post-credits scene that we filmed in another living room, which is just Eleanor cleaning her living room and dusting things while she's on the phone with Amelia, there's the big reveal that Clara is dead and that the rag is actually the shirt. And having the phone lie there and have her put the rag beside it, it kind of cements that that friendship group is over. And it was a crazy ride. It was the last ride. It was crazy, but it's over, it's done with, it's tethered just as much as the rag was. I believe that we did a really good job in conveying story and storytelling through the mise-en-scène and being able to show as many characters as possible, as many personalities as possible in the short time that we had, and I'm very proud of the end result.
My name's Holly and I was DOP on Bride's Last Ride. When it came to working out the visuals for this film, we wanted it to have a reality TV show look to it. And in order to do this, we did the whole entire thing handheld. This meant that it felt like you were there in the room. I could follow around the characters when they did specific actions or when they were speaking certain things.
That was a rough patch in my marriage. Steve's pretty much straight now.
And it really added to the intensity and pace of the film. We wanted it to feel like you were witnessing it live, like these shots weren't planned out and we were actually taking the camera and following these characters as they were having this argument and going about their day. The handheld shots also helped to aid the comedy genre that we were going for. In particular was the fight scene. The fight scene was the best scene to film in terms of the dynamic that we had on set, but also bringing all the shots into it. Coordinating the actors on set and planning out all the shots was really exciting. We had a mix of wide shots, close-up shots, fast camera movements and pans, which really just added to the intensity and the overall feeling of this scene. We wanted it to be quite all over the place with all the different shots and kind of disorientate the audience to not really know where they are or where they're looking or what character's speaking at what time. I've never shot an ensemble cast film before, so I took a lot of inspiration from films like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies and Bottoms in order to understand when to film certain characters and getting the right coverage of each character. This definitely was a difficult part of the film, and it was difficult to kind of work around like all the different characters' positions and making sure that it's obvious like what you're looking at and where the characters are. Due to issues with location, we didn't end up getting to fulfill the lighting ideas and intentions that we had, so we just wanted to make sure that it was lit naturally using LED lights that we'd booked out and a practical light as well. Close-up shots were important for this film as they bring more closeness to the viewers and to the characters, but also are good for more intense shots and adding dynamic within the characters. Like for example, during the fight scene, using close-ups of hair pulling or someone being pushed against a wall, or also when a character is saying a line of dialogue, which is really important and their emotion needs to be captured on camera.
Free themselves of your stench.
When it came to making the shot list, I wanted to make sure that I got coverage of a whole entire scene, but also of specific characters' dialogues. And we used a lot of over-the-shoulder shots as well to make you feel like you were a part of this and you were witnessing this happening. Something that I wish that I would have changed would be to add more two-shots. We did have a few in the shot list and we did use a few in the final edit, but I wish that I had used more, as I felt the two shots really showed this dynamic and the tension between characters when they were arguing on the screen. Like for example, this shot here.
Her wedding was better. You don't want to get Alice, do you?
So I'm going to go over now a few of the specific shots that I used. This shot here is one of my favourites, when Clara is holding the shirt up to Midge, accusing her of donating it to the thrift store. Obviously, Midge is wearing the shirt, so she couldn't have been the one to donate it, and using the camera to literally show that on screen really added to the comedy genre of it.
You what? Donated your best friend's bachelorette party shirt?
The final shot of the post-credits scene, where we see a 50-year time jump, we have a slow focus pull to the shirt being used as a rag, which again just really pulls together the comedy genre and this idea that they got into this huge fight and this huge argument over their friendship and their dynamics, all just for it to still not be forgotten 50 years later. Overall, when it came to the visuals of Bride's Last Ride, I wanted to create a hectic environment, using the handheld shots to make it feel like you were there watching this. Reality TV shows were a huge inspiration for this. I also wanted to visually show the dynamic between characters through different shot types. The script is very funny and well written, and I wanted the visuals to show this on the screen.
I'm Patrick, and I was the sound designer and sound recordist on Bride's Last Ride. We filmed over 2 days, and I was the sound recordist for both days, but we had 2 separate boom operators for days 1 and 2. It was really important that we understood the script as well as we could. It was a really dialogue heavy script. There was a lot of jumping between characters, so it was really important to know our boom movements beforehand. During the sound design, I noticed a lot of noise in the first scene when all the characters are outside, coming from a nearby fan that I never picked up on the day. And there was also a lot of lines where certain characters were just naturally a lot more quiet than others, and it was like trying to think about how we could bring them all to the same level. I spent a lot of time to try and EQ a lot of the noise out of the first scene. It worked a bit, but it was still I was still struggling with it. So I used the denoiser, which I hadn't used before, so that took some time to get used to and work out how to use it. We also decided that we'd use music playing in the shop to kind of fill it up because it sounded quite empty before. And at first I struggled when I was listening to try and find royalty-free music that I thought would work. It was really hard to find something we liked, and then when I talked it over with the group, we decided maybe it was best to go with something that fit more in the scene and something that would play in a shop like that rather than something we thought sounded good or that we liked. And when we leaned into thinking about it that way, we found some songs that we really thought would fit and that we actually found quite funny. And since it was a comedy, we actually decided to bring one of those songs back in the credits and in the post-credits scene, sort of like a theme for the film. I also decided to spend a lot of my time sound designing, focusing on the fight scene because it was a really important scene in the script, and it also required a lot of attention in the sound design. We decided that using a ripping sound when Clara pulls Eleanor's earring off would help to kind of clear up the actual action that's going on there, because it's not so clear if you don't know the script. We also used a lot of sounds in the fight scene of objects getting knocked over or people backing into walls or getting thrown on the ground to kind of emphasise the violence and just make everything hit a bit harder. One example is when the shop worker gets elbowed in the face. I think the biggest takeaway for me from working on this film would be to dedicate more time beforehand to understanding the space that you're recording sound in, because we done it well with filming inside, but for the scene outside, I think I definitely should have spent more time and scheduled more time in to just sort of be in the space and try and identify any problems that would come up in post-production, because it definitely would have saved a lot of time in post, and that would have gave us a lot more time and a lot more freedom for more creative parts of the sound design.
Hi, I'm Louise and I'm the editor on Bride's Last Ride. Being in the post-production team for this film meant that I was responsible for smoothly putting together all of the elements of the film to make sure it flowed in the perfect way. With this role, all the minor issues we never noticed during the planning and production process also came along. This taught me valuable things to look out for and focus on for future projects. For example, the importance of continuity and not having actors say their lines over each other, as the script, being very dialogue heavy, made it challenging and time consuming to cut together the conversation in a naturalistic way. During the filming process, I was wary for the edit as we were breaking the 180-degree rule, which is almost impossible with a group of cast members. However, I feel like it was pulled off with extra care when choosing which shots to edit together. This editing process also brought the 30-degree rule to my attention, but understandably, due to our location issues, we were very time restrained with worn-out actors, so we prioritized at least getting one usable shot over making sure everything was perfect as possible. Despite these issues, I am proud of many of the cuts I made. My favourites being these.
Amazing, Clara. I wish it was you.
Yeah. Having Clara intrude in front of the shot felt very fitting to our reality show approach. And this one.
At least he's not closeted.
That was a rough patch in my marriage.
Actually conjoins two different takes in one pan. This is the before adjustments. I originally edited these frames in Avid to make sure the shots could work before picture lock. However, we did come across issues when exporting to color grade, as none of them saved. In some shots, the shadow of the camera I previously hid was visible again. This meant I had to re-edit it to the best of my abilities in DaVinci. However, I do feel like I was limited to the effects I could use compared to Avid. In all, I like how the dialogue flows smoothly and establishes the dynamics between the characters, quickly cutting on interruptions, such as when Amelia says,
Guys!
And lingering on reaction shots during specific lines allowed viewers to feel part of the moment. I especially love the fast-paced tension created with quick cutting in the fight scene, varying close-ups and a range of different angles. I made sure to gradually cut them shorter and closer as the argument progressed, to do the script justice.